about it? Do you, Miss Dever? Yeah, so, good question. Who did Hitler target? Mm-hmm.
Jews, gypsies, and mentally
Jews, gypsies, mentally ill, political people,
ill. Anyone who wasn't German.
anyone who pretty much wasn't German, anyone who had a deformity of any kind, a learning disability of any kind, gays and lesbians, not on his good list. He didn't really like anybody that wasn't considered perfect German. He called it Aryan. Any other questions? We're going to learn a lot today, but I like your questions. Yeah.
What would happen to non-Jewish people who rebelled against?
Ooh, excellent question. We call those resistors or the helpers. Like, I don't know if any of you know Anne Frank, but she lived in the back of her father's office building, and there were 5 people helping her. If you were caught hiding or helping a Jew, your fate would be the same. You would be sent to a concentration camp where most likely you would die. You would either be sent to a gas chamber and killed, or worked and starved and worked to death.
Yeah, but one of the people who were helping Anne Frank and her family ratted them out, though.
No, not somebody who was helping her.
Well, someone who knew about it because of one of the helpers.
Yes, but it wasn't a helper who ratted her out. Yeah, it was somebody that I think maybe worked in the building.
But they don't know for sure
Yeah.
who did it, who ratted them out.
Lots of different theories. We'll talk about that later. That's a great question. So you would suffer the same fate, or you would just plain be shot. I don't know if any of you are World War II buffs, but there were organizations in almost every country that Hitler took over that were called the Resistance, and they would blow up German train tracks, and what else? They would just cause mischief to try to, they had a spy network and all kinds of stuff. Well, if you were caught and rounded up, you were pretty much killed. There's a great book I just read in December called Tamar. If you like spy thrillers, awesome. And it talks a lot about what happened. I could go on forever, but I won't. Anyone else? All right, here's what I would like you guys to do. I want you to close up your journals for now, please. And I'm going to ask you to please turn your desk so that you are facing. Turn your desk so you're facing. This is kind of a little mini history lesson, and I want to tell you that I am not a history teacher. I don't know absolutely everything there is to know. However, I have studied quite a bit, and I know, a lot of how this Holocaust got started. So I'm just going to share with you what I know. If you have questions as we're going along, please ask. I would love to hear your questions. This is a very, very simplified version of how this got started and happened. So I know a lot of you have great information that you can add, and I would love to hear that. Okay? So first of all, why do you think we study the Holocaust? It's a sad, 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 sad thing to study. What do you think, Audrey?
Because he wants to know about our history and how without it we wouldn't be
Absolutely. What do you think, Kim?
There's part of all the Americans we got involved in it, and also part of World War II.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's another big reason. What was the whole Holocaust based on? Does anyone know? Why did Hitler target all those people we were talking about before? Jews, gypsies, mentally disabled.
Because he blamed them for the lost people.
He did. He blamed them for a lot of stuff. They were called scapegoats. And it was a terrible thing. Because you are a certain religion or a certain race of people, should you be targeted? Absolutely not. This is a world we live in right now where we're kind of doing that to certain groups. So we need to be careful and remember the tragedies that can come out of hatred, which is why we study it, so that we don't make those same mistakes. The Holocaust was one of the most important events in the history of the world. We learn about the roots and consequences of prejudice and stereotyping. That's a big deal. We can't do that. The Holocaust provides a context for exploring the dangers of remaining silent, apathetic, and indifferent in the face of the oppression of others. What that means is we cannot stay silent when we see things that aren't right. It's really hard to speak up, but sometimes we have to. Even if it's little things that you see in your world, like bullying, or people picking on another person because of their religion, or a disability that they have, or something. We have to say something. We can't let that kind of hatred ruin us. Being silent and indifferent to the suffering of others only makes the problem worse. We cannot make this world worse. A study of these topics helps students to think about the use and abuse of power. Who was the leader of Germany at that time, everybody? Adolf Hitler had a tremendous amount of power, which he pretty much took. He was a dictator. He abused his power. Anyone that disagreed with him was eliminated. Even his closest advisors. He kind of knocked off a lot of people who were close to him because he thought that they weren't thinking like him. He was a really evil man, in my opinion. And I'm going to say that because I think. Here's what Holocaust means. It's the mass murder of Jews under the German Nazi regime from 1941 to 1945. Started a lot earlier than 1941. And, but the main part was these 4 years, which were horrendous. And I have to make sure that you guys understand, it wasn't just Jews that he targeted. He targeted gypsies. Gypsies were just another kind of people with a different religion. When he invaded Poland, and he took over Poland, he pretty much treated the Poles, who weren't even Jewish, as personal slaves, and pretty much starved them to death as well. Not in camps, but pretty much cut off everything for them. Political prisoners, anybody. I mean, there were so many people who were simply targeted because they weren't what he considered perfect. So let's kind of talk a little bit about how this whole thing started. And I hope that you will get to this in history this year, but I can give you just a tiny bit of background. In 1918, there was the First World War, and Germany was defeated. It was pretty much Germany against France, and then other countries got into it. So pretty much the whole world was in this terrible war in 1918. When it ended, Germany was defeated. What happens to a country when you are in a war and then you're defeated? What do you think? What are the repercussions of that? What happens?
Rules and policies of the country that took you over basically becoming the rules of the country.
Absolutely. So they were under domination of other countries in the world. So they were like pushed down. Germany, who once was this very proud country, is now kind of pushed down. What about the economy? What about the economy after a war? What do you think happens to the economy? Is a war free? Absolutely not. So what do you have to do?
You have to pay off the debts for everything.
Yeah, you have to pay off the debts. You have to rebuild almost everything that was, crushed down by bombs. If you invaded other countries and ruined their country, you sometimes have to pay to get those places fixed up. So do you think the economy of Germany in 1918 was doing great? It was not. It was not. So people were in kind of like a major recession. They didn't have jobs. Things weren't very good for them. Germany had been defeated. They felt bad. They felt crushed. People were losing their jobs. And this guy, Adolf Hitler, rises up to become a leader. And he did that by creating a scapegoat. You know what a scapegoat is? What is it, Erin?
Well, it's like when you have all these problems and then you just blame someone else for all of them. They can target like, oh, they're why all this happened.
Exactly. So I'm having some trouble at my house with my daughter, but it's really Abby's fault because she wears pink. And she has made my life tremendously bad. And you know what? She's going to make your life bad too. Suddenly you guys are going to have problems with her. I just want you to know that. Because look at her. She wears pink. She's different. It's her fault that things are happening. That's what a scapegoat is. Maybe you feel like this at home sometimes when you are fighting with your siblings and somebody always gets you in trouble. You're the scapegoat of the family. Oh, Owen knows what that is, right? So Adolf Hitler had this amazing way to bring people in and say, hey, it's the Jews' fault that we lost the war and that they're hoarding all of our money and they're causing all of these problems. And you know what? There was like a big, I'll get to you in a sec. There has been hatred for the Jews since the time of the Bible. And they have gone through this their whole eternity. Mm-hmm.
Last year I was like studying about journalism, and I heard about like Hitler's propaganda and how he had the Book of Lies, which basically had like all this incorrect information about Jews.
Was it Mein Kampf?
Yeah.
That was his book, yes.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
Hitler wanted to be an artist, and then
Mm-hmm.
when he sent in like a picture that he made and then got turned down, do you think that's kind of what started the whole thing of
Yeah.
him being mad?
I think so. He was rejected a lot for a lot of things that he wanted to do in life. And I think he didn't have a lot of good self-confidence, so he wanted to take it out on others. Yes, absolutely. I think so. So this is what Adolf Hitler looked like. This right here is, I'm sure you've seen it, it's called a swastika. And that was like the symbol of the Nazi Party. And actually, interestingly, apparently that symbol is an old ancient symbol that used to mean peace, right? Something like that. And he totally twisted it and made it into this gross, vulgar thing. And there was this thing that he used to do like this. It was the Nazi salute. Tremendously disrespectful right now. If you ever see anyone doing that, please do not condone it. It is nasty. Yes?
Why is a mustache like
I don't know. It was just the style. Just the style.
There's different rumors that people said that it was because of like gas masks too, right?
Oh,
During like
I
World
don't know.
War I.
Yeah.
But I don't know for sure.
Not sure.
Yeah.
It is pretty much typical, though, when you see that mustache, the Hitler mustache. So he commanded this ginormous presence and had this enormous army that he built up. And it was Adolf Hitler's way or the highway. You did not cross that man. And he was able to build up a huge army. In 1925, Hitler writes a book called Mein Kampf. And it outlines what Hitler thinks is the master race. He thought the master race were pure Germans or pure Austrians. Anybody who was not purely Aryan, he called it, wasn't really worth saving or being part of his new world vision. He wanted to get rid of everybody. He loved people that looked Aryan. So, Kim, you would be a great Aryan. JJ, you are like, woo, you are Aryan all the way. Audrey, you're an awesome Aryan. Andrew, you'd be a great Aryan. He liked blonde hair, blue-eyed, people. That's what he liked. Even though when